to The Verdict. It's our continuing coverage of the 2019 elections, everything before, during and after, when we have a result to announce. Now, we were talking about security deployment, security on the day, and tips to stay safe. But here in Lagos, let's just hear now from the Commissioner of Police. Let's look at the Lagos State Police readiness and its preparedness for the elections. Let's see what they have to say about how ready they are for tomorrow.
The Nigerian Police Force, in collaboration with other security agencies, are well prepared for these elections. We know our responsibilities during elections is the provision of security to the whole electoral process, starting with the security of the electoral officers, to the security of electoral materials, both in the offices and on transit, to the security of the polling centers, the security of the collation centers, the escort of results from the polling units to local government collation centers to the state collation centers, and the general provision of security everywhere in and around Lagos to ensure that people go out and cast their votes in a free, secured environment. Before now, we have been working with INEC. So we have the exact number of all polling units and collation centers. There is deployment to all these polling centers. Each polling unit is going to be manned by at least 3 security agencies, both the police and other security agencies, and then the collation centers. And we also have other officers to take care of the streets, the roads, other areas where election is not going on, so that we ensure that the whole process is well secured. After casting their votes, for those interested in knowing the results at their polling units, the electoral law provides that they can wait, but to a specific distance, so that they can watch after the casting their votes. Once the votes are counted in their polling units and they've heard the results, it's left for the party agents of each of the parties and security agents to escort these results to the next collation center. That's all expected of the voters. No problems, no security challenges expected from them, but in case anybody wants to cause trouble, we are ready. Our traditional crime prevention measures are still in place. Our normal patrols are there. We are aware of these flashpoints earlier than now, and they are still going to be managed as they've been managed before. The additional manpower we have from the other agencies will take care of that. The force headquarters have also sent us reinforcement of officers. So all the flashpoints we used to have before in Lagos are going to be well taken care of for the elections. We are put in place, apart from the security of the polling units, we have put in place, like I said, patrols. All the nooks and crannies of Lagos, there will be patrols that are not specifically for the polling units. And then we have standby units at the headquarters here and other zonal command areas, just in case of any eventuality, for easy mobilization to those areas. So there is not going to be any room for any ballot box snatching during these elections.
And dedicated lines for emergencies?
Yes, we have dedicated lines for emergencies. Yesterday we had a stakeholders meeting with INEC and all the political parties, and we have released all those dedicated lines to all of them, and it's going to be manned 24 hours. Anybody who has any chance to give to the police or any information with the police is free to call those lines and be attended to.
All right, the Commissioner of Police here in Lagos, Zubairu Muazu, talking about the readiness of the police force for tomorrow, also talking about their toll lines, which you can call if you see or hear anything which you choose to report. Now, it's interesting that he also talked about the security of election officials, INEC officials themselves. Because, you know, over time, we've heard that complaint when elections are over, that election is at its peak very early in the morning when the road is now closed and during the process. But then somehow it whittles down when it's now time, when the precious ballot boxes have left, and it is now time for them to pack up their chairs, tables, and everything else, and they seem to be exposed. Some, not all the time, but we've heard that complaint. So why is that? And what can they do about it?
Well, this is a very tough angle, because I need to ask one question, and I will ask you now. What time is the election finishing tomorrow?
It's supposed to be at 2 o'clock, but it finishes when the last voter on the line
Yeah.
votes.
So, you see, we need to look at the timeline from wherever the polling booths are to where the next collation are going to be? Is there still going to be free road access or whatsoever? What's going to be happening? Then, what sort of information do you think will be going on between all political parties? Just to make sure that, yes, my vote is well counted, there's no mistake, there's no this, there's no that. We are not just addressing all these places. But what we are talking about is just, let us make sure there's peace, there's peace, there's peace. But peace will never reign if there's no serious simulation being done before then. Then, it now puts me to another question again. What sort of training were actually being given to all these officials and the security agencies to know how to language themselves in a way that they are speaking the same language at the same time? We're still not to get it.
Maybe we should put it to the DIG in Abuja to
yeah, because now you have 73 political parties on tomorrow's ballot. You have 73 political parties. Assuming, yes, for the presidential election. Now, assuming that in each unit where you're supposed to have one agent, even though for most of the parties it's become obvious that they can't afford to have one agent in every unit. But if we take the assumption that even half the number have agents there, you're talking about the odd 73 divided by 2, that's about 36, 37 people. Sure. Apart from the INEC officials, apart from the security agents, apart from those who are waiting behind after voting to see that the votes are counted and so on. So you have this mix in the polling area. Somebody talked about emotions and the whole issue of emotions.
Look, don't let us even go there right now. Let me ask another. There's one more question I think I need to ask. How many securities will be deployed to each polling station based on the threat they might have envisaged they're going to be having tomorrow?
Well, we don't know that. Maybe we'll ask DIG. Then
at least we need to understand what's happened in the past and learn from the mistakes.
To see whether
so can you tell us, do you have a figure for us?
DIG, do you have any idea? I mean, for example, in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was something in the region of 5 security personnel to each center or something like that. Am I correct? If I'm wrong, what was it?
And what is it now for this election?
Quite correct. In fact, where we don't have enough policemen, what we do is to put about 3 policemen and use the immigration or the customs or the civil defense to augment the 5. Because that was what we have in the operation order that we came out with in 2015, that every polling unit must have at least 5 security personnel, not necessarily all police, but at least 5 security personnel, be they immigration, customs, or civil defense. So I believe they are going to keep to that number, if not more, depending on the strength, that the number of men that they have to deploy. And I also believe they won't go below that. And what normally happens is that once the results have been declared at their particular polling units, and then they are to move to the next collation center, maybe the local government or the INEC office, all the instruction given to the police or the security agencies are that they escort the election officials to the next place where the results are to be collated, so that they will now beef up the strength of policemen or security men that are posted to the next area. So there are not going to be lapses at all.
DIG, let me also ask this, though. In 2015, maybe you'll tell us, but this year we are meant to understand that because of what you referred to as the shortfall, I mean, ordinarily this part of the security arrangement should be manned strictly by policemen. But because of the shortfall in the number of the policemen, they're being augmented by immigration, customs, civil defense, and so on. But it also appears that in this election cycle, the army, even though they're not coming to the booths, but the army is also part of the outer ring of security for the elections. Am I correct in this assessment?
You're quite correct. They are at the periphery. They man the roads, the areas where there are flashpoints, where probably some hoodlums will come out. They are stationed there. At times they go on patrol, motorized patrols, to make sure that there's the presence of security of the military in flash areas.
Now let's take it from there.
They are not at the polling units. They don't go to the polling units.
Now, when elections are over, and as you pointed out, they escort the election officials and the election materials from the voting centers to the next collation point. At that, once they've escorted them to that next collection point, is the duty of the officer or officers so assigned now done?
No. They remain until the collation is over and the results are moved to the next, maybe the final collation area.
Okay, but in the past, we have seen them go off in certain areas. They escort them halfway and then they say, look, well, we weren't giving our allowances, so we need to go and look for somewhere to eat, and from there we don't know, when we come back, we will know what we'll be doing.
Anyone that has such issues, anywhere you notice such issues, you report them immediately to the authorities, and the policemen or the security men involved will be dealt with. Okay. And this time around, I think I was made to understand that the allowances have already been paid to the men. So the issue of I have not collected allowance will not be there this time around.
Okay, Thomas, what's been your own experience anyway? Because you are also another security person. In view of what we know about what happens in Nigeria, the DIG has broken it down for us, explained it in some detail. But on the ground, on the day, what's been your experience?
Well, an experience is not something that we can just talk about like that, because don't forget that the coming together of security agency there was to preempt an incident. And nobody has monopoly of how or knowledge of how it's all going to turn out. In some cases, we have polling booths where nothing will happen. And in some places, we have incident that is going to mar the whole election all over the country. The whole thing boils down to one thing: level of our preparedness. And I want to believe that since 1999 up to date, I believe every 4 years we've been learning of how things pans out, and we've been preparing. That notwithstanding does not say that an ugly incident cannot occur. We cannot rule that out. So I would just want to say that everybody has a role to play in the whole of this. The security agencies has a role to play. The INEC officials has a role to play. The citizens of Nigeria, whom because of them we're running the election, also have a role to play. And if everybody has taken into account all that has been shared, I believe that we should have bad incident to the minima, if any at all. I believe all that has been put in place, all things being equal, should put the situation under control, and we should be able to curb any bad incident from happening. So we can only hope that that will be the case. And if anything is going to turn out, if we cannot rule out violence at all, I want to believe that the security agencies on ground are going to be able to take care of the citizen, take care of themselves, and take care of the electoral officers.
For the entire panel now.
But starting from
Lagos. Starting from you, sir. A lot of viewers watching us tonight and commenting on social media want to know if they will be stopped by security and prevented from going to their polling units if it is around the time when the road has now closed. If they can prove that their polling unit is far away from them and they're genuinely going to vote, will they be allowed to go through? What do you think? That's the question they're asking tonight, because a lot of people are saying they're quite far from their polling units.
From my experience of positioning of polling units, I find it difficult to accept that there's going to be a polling unit that is going to be up to a mile away from your house. For instance, now, the polling unit where I'm supposed to vote in my village is less than a mile from my house. And I want to believe that the INEC have taken care of that. It has been positioned in such a way that vehicular movement is restricted. And if they say if the Inspector General of Police has restricted vehicular movement, that order stays. And it's something that if you think you have problem, I am always worried about disabled people who are supposed to go there in wheelchair and other stuff. I want to believe that the security operatives that are being posted will also use their restriction, because there are the essential services has not been defaulted. The ambulances are still going to work. The fire engines are still going to work. Armed robbers, kidnappers may still strike tomorrow, and there may be need for police to move there. There may be need to move somebody to the hospital. So the officers who are posted will have that at the back of their mind, and I'm sure that they will use their discretion when it comes to that.
Very much like to us. We'll take a moment, and when we'll come back, we'll continue the conversation around the security situation and the role that everybody has to play about it. We'll be back shortly.